This is the biggest overarching theme of the trends I'm talking about for next year. Everything will need to be filtered through your own gut feel, through your own individual opinion. Everything will need to resonate in truth, and very little will be taken on just by coming from someone that's more glamorous, someone that presents themselves as a guru, someone that presents themselves as a celebrity. Hi everyone, this is Aries Mungal, and this is another video with predictions for 26. And I thought the easiest way to communicate this is talk about 10 trends that are going to be relevant in 26, and how the trends that we've been living probably for the past 16 years are going to change in the next year and what we can expect. The first trend that we can expect in 26 is disbelief in authorities. This has started already mostly from 23 and even a bit before. So since we had planets really activating the Aquarius sky in 20, we have mildly seen something like this. But in 23, Pluto started going into Aquarius. And maybe you have noticed that people are starting to not believe anything that's coming from authorities anymore. People are starting not to believe the news anymore. People are starting even more not to believe in celebrities endorsing stuff. People are starting not to take messages in that are just coming from authorities and should be respected as we had before. With Pluto in Capricorn, we were very much under, okay, we are told to do this, must be it. Since Aquarius has been activated by Pluto, maybe you've seen a lot of riots, a lot more riots everywhere through Europe, even in the US, but we will see a lot more. And people are going to start to be very skeptical of everything that's coming to them from the authorities. So you will see a lot of people starting to look for answers themselves. And this takes me into the second trend that is going to be predominant in 26. The second trend is caused by Neptune in Aries, and it has to do with your individuality. Until now, with Neptune in Pisces, we were a bit under the mysticism of Pisces. We believed in certain gurus. We believed in someone having the answers for us spiritually. This is the time where a lot of manifestation podcasts and a lot of manifestation has been taught online, and people would look for these gurus. People would look even for celebrities to kind of guide them in a way. People would look at all things Neptune in Pisces and they would search the answers from the outside. People are starting to not believe this anymore. So everything that will be now respected, believed, and so it's not going to be coming from the outside, and it's not going to come in a woo-woo way. It's going to come through your gut feel, through your Aries individuality. We're only going to take advices from people that resonate with us at a deep core level. Aries is no BS type of sign. So Aries doesn't follow anyone just because it looks good on paper. And Aries needs to resonate with something really deeply in your core. So if you are still looking for a way to increase your spirituality next year, this is gonna come really from a way more raw, I feel it in my bones, I feel it in my gut. That's the way to go. And it's not gonna come from the outside sources. This is the biggest overarching theme of the trends I'm talking about for next year. Everything will need to be filtered through your own gut feel, through your own individual opinion. Everything will need to resonate in truth, and very little will be taken on just by coming from someone that's more glamorous, someone that presents themselves as a guru, someone that presents themselves as a celebrity. Even more, I think this type of videos and this type of people will kind of attract negative influences from the people around them. So I think this is the biggest shift, and that's with you discovering your core intuition and just following what feels right for you and not for others. Third trend that's going to be really predominant next year has to do with Uranus in Gemini, and that's a lot about communication. Until now has been all expanded. We've been all talking to everyone from everywhere. But Gemini is a lot more your inner community, your neighborhood. And it doesn't need to be your neighborhood in a physical sense. It can be just the people who absolutely resonate with you. So you will see, although information is more accessible than ever, you will see groups of people really holding together based on their beliefs, based on their identity, based on things that bring them together. You will also see it in the communities around you. So a lot more will be organized in communities that are really close to you. So instead of you connecting with someone that's a million miles away, you will start valuing someone that's really close to you, someone that feels like you, thinks like you, communicates like you. So I think this is a good thing in a way. I think with us all rebelling and with us not believing in anyone and in authorities anymore, we will need to start forming our own smaller groups that we actually believe in. And those are going to be the points of reference. And those people might be really from your neighborhood. Those people might be really the people that are really in your shoes. And this is going to transform a lot more. With Gemini having Uranus there and Pluto being in Aquarius, I need to talk about another thing that's really starting to make its way already this year and in the previous 2 or 3 years, but that is us not knowing what information is real and what information is not real. There will be such an overload of information that at one point we will need to switch off. And I think this is where the communities will start playing a role, and this is where your individual opinion will start playing a role. You will just not want to go on the internet and be bombarded with all that information. Not that people will all switch off from the internet, it's just that a lot of information will just pass them by because it's too much, too easily created, too intense, too much information overload, and you will feel like, okay, I need a break from all of this. So I think next year it's also a lot about regulating your nervous system and watching a lot what you take in, not taking every information in, but just filtrating through your own lens and through the lens of the community that you are in, what you want to do. And also it might be a thing where people really start valuing more going out and meeting real life people in their neighborhoods, where people start rejecting a bit this life on the internet because it's too much of it coming. And you could also have the opposite, of course. You could have a lot of people getting lost in the internet, but I think the biggest protection for your nervous system will be at one point to know when to switch it off. So this is a trend and also a warning to know when you should be switching off from the internet and when you should be starting living more in your real life. And I think many people will start feeling this starting with this year. We have at least 7 years of this, so this is an ongoing trend. But I think regulating your nervous system and calming it down, living in real life with real people, with real friends, is going to become more and more valuable throughout the next year. The fifth trend for 26 is going to be that a lot of our material values, we've been Pluto in Capricorn and Uranus in Taurus for a lot of years now. So we've been really valuing everything through the lens of material wealth. Everything has been, how can I get rich? And even now, the themes are more like, what will happen with money? How can I get money? And so, but I feel that at some point, because we are transitioning so much into this information era, into the air and fire signs from earth and water, at some point we will understand, okay, I cannot base my life only focusing on material things. I need to live my life in a way that feels integral for my nervous system, and I cannot hustle as much. I cannot only talk about hustle culture and how do I make money and all of this. I think in the beginning of the year we're still gonna push a lot for this, but towards the end we're gonna feel like, okay, I know that I will be okay regardless of material worries and all of this. And I think at that point we'll start living more, not simple, because this doesn't mean we'll be poor or anything like that, but that insane capitalistic grind culture of I need to make money, it's all about making money, how can I gain more? And so it's gonna start to wear off, and we're gonna start to feel like, okay, I just want to live good, I just want to have a decent life, I just want to have people around me that I can trust, I just want to have people that share my ideals. And a lot of people will move away from the hustle culture. It's going to be a slow process, but that's going to happen. And a lot of people will just switch off from the influencer that's only talking about making money also, because at some point you will start feeling like I'm too tired for this, I'm being left behind, this is burning my system out, and I need to start living a good life. So my advice here is don't be worried so much about material security. Start worrying much more about your mental health and just living a normal, pleasant life where you can have friends around, where you can exchange ideas, where you know what's real and what's not in your proximity, where you trust people a lot more. And I think towards the end of the year, we'll all start feeling a lot more of this. It's a slow process, but that's the trend for 26. Trend number 6, as I previously mentioned in my videos, next year is a number 1 year. So this means all that you are doing for the past 9 years is concluding this year. So next year is a fresh start year. In my mind, this will bring a lot of new initiatives. People will start trying all the new things. And because we're talking about AI, a lot of it will be with the help of it, but a lot of it will also be against it, will be based in real life. So a lot of new businesses, a lot of new initiatives, a lot of different thinking that we haven't had for the past 9 years. So everything that we start now is going to grow for the future next years, for 9 years now. So it's just infant phase of growing a project. I think a lot of new, innovative, out of the box, keep the energy of the Aquarius alive and also the Aries energy are gonna start kicking off next year. So if you have a project in mind, I think this is a good time to start. The next 9 years are gonna help you really grow it and dare to think out of the box. I'm sure many of you are already thinking, what can I do next year? And I have a podcast about this with my lovely friend Anka, where we discussed about this and starting your own business and doing things your own way, which is a very good thing to do next year. But I'm sure that many of you are already thinking of this, and this is going to be one trend for 2026. Number 7, another trend for 26, and not everything needs to be perfect or great, and I have to talk about the obvious, is our attention span will get even smaller, if that is possible, because we will be used to get information like this. We won't be putting as much effort into studying as we have done in the past. The times where you would study really in depth to get to things and do your own research so much are going to be a bit left behind us. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's more of a warning, but we will get so used to getting everything at the click of a button that information and also teaching and learning is going to start becoming a lot more about how you manage that information instead of how you take it in and how much you take it in. So again, an AI topic, but not only, need to make sure that the information you're getting is the correct one. That's a big flag for next year. Make sure that information is correct, but also we need to be really mindful of the fact that information has never been this easy to get. So a lot more people are going to have access to it, and you'll be able to start a business way faster without doing deep research about it. You'll be able to pass exams way faster. Everything is going to start moving faster. And we need to be mindful that we're not taking in as deep of information as we did before. And that's where it is. If you still want to do your own deep research, then make sure that you're using also the tools that help you do that, because many people are just going to use the tools and not do the deep research. I still think it's a mixture of both. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think many of us will put the time in to learn as we did in the past. And I don't think that's going to come for the next 10, 20, 30 years, but especially starting with next year. The eighth trend that I see for next year is again tied to Aries, but tied to everything that's happening next year. And that is identity first, success comes second. And I'm going to explain a bit what this means. A lot of the content that we consumed until now was based into success as an identity. I'm successful, I'm good looking, this is my perfect routine, this is how I do things perfectly, this is how I master things perfectly. This is not going to be a vibe for next year. Is going to be, this is my real self, this is my true self, this is the opinion that I have about me and the others, and less about masking it with success. Like, these are my 10 houses that I bought, these are my 10 bikinis in which I look absolutely amazing. It's going to be, who am I at my core? And then if success trickles down from it, that's going to be also included. But that's not going to be the main communication. Is going to be real, raw, funny, witty, fast, and especially, yeah, I would say especially a lot more real than what we have had until now. And success is going to be defined through how authentic am I? How real am I? How authentic is what I transmit and what I bring across? Not so much about how much do I own? How successful am I owning? This is going to be rejected by society a lot. And I think this is the moment where you need to again tap into your core and find, who are you at your core? Who are you without the job? Who are you without the cars? Who are you without the bathing suit? And that's going to be a difficult process, but that's where the trend is taking us. Who is me at my core? What is my spirit? What do I stand for? And more about that, less about what I acquire and how do I look to others. The ninth trend for 26 is the big divide. And this might sound scary, but there is indeed a divide coming. And that divide is, are you flexible enough to roll with the punches, to roll with the hard, not the hard, but the fast change that is happening in the world? Or are you gonna hold back? And although both are good alternatives, you will notice that those that are flexible and roll with what's coming and so will actually achieve a lot more, will be able to do a lot more, will become wealthier. And those that are more like, I don't want to embrace all this change, this is too much for me and I absolutely dislike it. And trust me, I have both sides in myself. I see the great opportunity, but then I'm like, why do we need all this change? So I understand that many people can have both, but in the end, those that will go with the change, those that will adopt the change, those that will move faster, those that will keep the optimism about what's coming and know that actually progress usually brings good stuff with some bad, but usually our lives become better in the end after each leap in terms of technology, after each leap in terms of just daily routines. I think things will become so fast, services, information, businesses, everything will start moving so fast that many people will start feeling left behind. And also this is the potential for a wealth divide, and I don't want to have many people feel even more left behind in this wealth divide. So flexibility is key, and rolling with the changes and knowing who am I and how can I evolve in this fast moving pace without losing myself, that's going to be absolutely essential for 26. The 10th trend that I see for next year has to do with Venus, which will also be retrograde towards the end of next year. But there are a lot of Venus points. So I think this is where we start stabilizing what we haven't liked in our relationship life for the past years. I think boundaries will be way firmer. I think people will know that either I stand my ground and I put my boundaries very clear, or I just won't get involved. And here there is a danger of having too many boundaries and not getting in relationships. But I think on the other hand, it's good because a lot of people will feel more in their power. A lot of people will feel that they are not taken for granted. So here it's a bit of a negotiation game about knowing that the value we have when we are in relationships, but knowing our own value. And a lot of it is going to be about knowing your own value finally and not accepting what hasn't felt fair in relationships until now. So next year, relationships are still a focus, but they are a focus in the sense of I'm just going to go into a relationship that's going to respect my boundaries, respect my identity, respect my worldviews. And I'm going to base it a lot on mutual communication and understanding. I think a lot of relationships have been transactional also throughout time. I think this is going to become less, and a lot more is going to become about, do we have the same shared views? Do we have the same vision for the future? And this is going to be a good trend that's going to evolve past the next years also. Another trend for next year, a bonus one, number 11. Don't forget, Jupiter is moving into Leo, although South Node is going to move into Leo as well mid-year. But Jupiter in Leo talks about being sovereign, having fun, being expressive. A lot of people will be able to express their ideas. A lot of people will be able to be more creative, put their art out there, put their personality out there, really shine. And this is where that flexibility really counts. So if you're making the most of next year and you know that, okay, this is my time to shine, this is my time to show who I truly am, with Neptune in Aries and Jupiter in Leo, it's about, okay, this is how creative my fire is within me and how I share it with the world. So if you feel inclined, especially towards a creative area, towards a communication area, maybe being a creator even here on YouTube, this is the time to expose that side of yourself. Take the limelight. Take your creativity and share it with the others. This is the perfect year for it. And it can also be the way in which you gain the material stability that you want, because a lot more is going to be not about boring tasks, but it's going to be about personality. It's going to be the strongest, the shiniest, the most creative personality out there. And I think many of us should really embrace this and next year make it really fun and creative for all of us. Until next time, I'm Aries Moon Girl. I care about the stars, but most of all, I care about you guys, and this is why I do these videos. There's more videos coming about 26. Write me a comment down below what you absolutely want to know about 26, even if it's about a specific sign, and I'll make sure to include it in my next video. I'll see you next time. Bye.